Over the last few classes, we've been talking about being clear on the benefits of doing this meditation practice, of all of the meditation practices that we do. So over the next few classes that we have, I'm going to just give quick, short reminders of the benefits of meditation on the inner body, and one of which is that this meditation enables us to pause the conceptual thinking mind, the sometimes compulsive conceptual thinking mind, and necessarily gives rise to a state of non-conceptual awareness. So with that, why don't we go ahead and settle into a comfortable meditation posture? And using whichever method you find effective, please allow both your physical body and your mind to start to settle and to rest, to become quiet and still. And when you're ready, in your own time, please go ahead and gently transition into meditation on the inner body. Become the silent observer of sensations that may start in your hands and your feet in the form of a tingling, perhaps a lightness, perhaps a heaviness, perhaps a pulsation. No analysis is necessary. There's nothing to figure out. Just be the silent observer of these sensations. Moment by moment, day after day, year after year, the mountain simply observes silently. Please gently redirect your awareness. Become aware again of this entity we've decided to label physical body, and allow your breathing to become less shallow. Taking deeper and deeper breaths, become aware again of the garments of clothing resting on the surface of physical body. Become aware again of the surroundings inside the room that you're occupying. Become aware again of the world that exists outside of the room that you're occupying. Become aware again of nearby mountains, of nearby of nearby continents, of nearby planets, of nearby solar systems. We dedicate all of the merit from this morning's meditation and Dharma talk to world peace. May all beings without exception enjoy an abundance of pure air and water, delicious, nutritious food, safe, warm, dry, reliable, affordable shelter, and comfortable, functional, attractive clothing. And with everyone's basic needs met, may we all enter and progress on wisdom paths that lead to complete and permanent liberation from all forms of suffering. Completely fill up your belly and lungs with air, and when you're ready, you can open your eyes and bring your meditation to an end. Thank you very much, and welcome back, everyone. So, we're going through the Four Noble Truths of Buddhism. We've been through the first two of the Four Noble Truths, the first being you should know suffering. Again, reminding us of the preamble to the Four Noble Truths. If you want to be free from suffering, you should know suffering. Number two, if you want to be free from suffering, you should abandon the origins of suffering. The third noble truth, which we're going to get into today, is you should attain cessations. You should attain cessation from suffering if you want to be free from suffering. And just knowing that cessation from suffering is possible, is a thing, is an inevitability, actually, is very encouraging. And every time I talk about the third noble truth, I feel compelled to bring up the oftentimes misrepresented third noble truth, or actually the misrepresented first noble truth, which sometimes is incorrectly cited as being all life is suffering. That by definition can't be true if one subscribes to the third noble truth that cessation is possible. The Buddha wouldn't say cessation is possible if all life is suffering. So anyways, I'm on like a personal campaign to bring clarity to that misunderstanding of the first noble truth and the misrepresentation of it. To talk about the third noble truth, you should attain cessation. I want you guys to imagine a scenario, okay? I want you to please imagine that you have a friend, a close friend, who every single day, day after day, has an experience of carrying the weight of the world on his shoulders or her shoulders. I think we've all been in that situation. We've all been in the situation at some point in our lives when we have felt like we're carrying the weight of the world on our shoulders, and it's dreadful. It's a really dreadful place to be. I'd like you to imagine that you have a friend who experiences that of the weight of the world being on his shoulders every day, day after day without relief, okay, in perpetuity. Every day is that way for your friend. And I'd like you to imagine you going to your friend, or your friend being presented with an opportunity to experience a day of relief from that situation. One day of relief from feeling like the weight of the world has been lifted from his shoulders. You know, say, okay, we're going to go out, and today we're going to do whatever you want today. We're going to go out and we're going to maybe go for a nice nature walk, and, go out to your favorite restaurant and have your favorite type of food. And, um, maybe with your beloved, you can go home and have a few moments of intimacy, watch a good movie, whatever you want to do, and experience relief from the suffering of carrying the weight of the world on your shoulders for that day. And your friend, if that was his situation, saying that was his situation, would say, absolutely. What's to not like? Excuse me. The only problem is that after that day is over, the next day, it's back to having the weight of the world on his shoulders. What if you could also say, I've got an alternative to your one day, which is like basically what we do on our birthday, right? We basically go out and do all the things that we like to do. Yeah. What if we said to our friend, I want to give you an alternative to that one day of relief from having the weight of the world on your shoulders? All you have to do is engage in a practice, a spiritual practice for 1 week. Engage in a practice for for 1 week, and you will be relieved of the suffering of carrying the weight of the world on your shoulders for the rest of your life. What do you think about that instead? I think if our friend had any wisdom at all, they would say, yes, yes, I will apply myself to that practice for a week to be relieved of the suffering for the rest of my life. Yes, I will happily do that. This hypothetical situation is similar to what is being put forth in the third noble truth, you should attain cessation. And the meaning behind the third noble truth is to experience relief from suffering, to attain a cessation from suffering, not just for this life, but for all of our future lives, to achieve permanent liberation from suffering. And the analogous relationship between the kind of simple, maybe silly example of our friend who carries the weight of the world on their shoulders is that if we apply ourselves in this lifetime to achieving a cessation from suffering, practicing the path that will lead to a cessation of suffering. That's the fourth noble truth, by the way. You should practice the path. if we use this human life to practice the path, we will attain a permanent cessation of our suffering. Permanent as in not just in this life, but all of our future lives. That's the meaning behind, that's the deep foundational meaning of the third noble truth, permanent cessation from suffering, not temporary cessation of suffering. Not just in this life, but all of our future lives, if we practice the path. Excuse me, you guys, my throat is kind of even more phlegmy than usual this morning. So this is the point at which I kind of anticipate sort of mental questions or mental objections, and very valid mental questions and objections, if they're present in your minds, of, yeah, that sounds good. And it would be very compelling, and I would apply myself to the path completely using this one life. But how do I know there are future lives, right? It would be a lot more compelling for me, and I would apply myself more steadfastly if someone could demonstrate to me with absolute certainty that future lives are a thing. And of course, I cannot tell you, and nobody can tell you with absolute definitive certainty that future lives are a thing. I do believe that they are, and I think there are some compelling lines of reasoning that point to the certainty of future lives. But in terms of giving you an ironclad guarantee that will stand up in a court of law or a court of spirituality or whatever would be the most definitive litmus test determination of validity, I can't do it. I think that at some level, all of the people who are on this call right now believe in some sort of afterlife. I think probably all of us on this call have spiritual leanings and spiritual inclinations, and that probably gives rise to a belief in some sort of afterlife. I think that with regard to future lives, rebirth, reincarnation, I know that in the past I have kind of taken a very simplistic view of it. And that simplistic view served as an obstacle to my really coming to embrace the truth of future lives and the benefit of having a view that believes in future lives. I sort of think about or used to think about reincarnation in a sort of vague kind of way that, yeah, so I'm in this life in this human form, and when I die, I'm going to be reincarnated as a cat like Diana's cat, or, or a dog, or a worm, or another person in another part of the world, maybe a rag picker in India, maybe a rich, person somewhere else, It just seems too linear and too tidy to sort of look at reincarnation that way. And it was when I started to look at sort of more subtle possibilities of future rebirth and future lives that it started to become, the possibilities started to become more vivid and more real for me. Just as space is infinite, and just as I have got to believe that there are other worlds and other realms out there that are beyond my ability to conceive, I think there are probably countless other life forms into which I will transition at the end of this life. Maybe it's another life here on planet Earth. Probably another life form that I can't even conceive of, that will be a continuation of this consciousness, of this soul, if we want to call it a soul, but that consciousness continues like all phenomena. All phenomena are impermanent like consciousness, and that consciousness, it makes sense to me that it can transition and move to another place, into another form of existence, another realm in the afterlife. Yeah. And looking back at this life here in this form with these conditions, I also have to believe that causes have to have been, there had to have been causes for this effect to come about, right? For my parents to come together and create me, and for there to be a successful creation of me, the sperm and the egg coming together and all of the other conditions lining up perfectly, there had to have been a karmic cause that was created for that to occur, for everything to arise that I'm experiencing right now in this life, in this form. Where could that cause have come from? The continuum of my consciousness in another life, in a previous life. Past lives suggest the truth of future lives. I could wax on a long time about this, but I won't. I won't. I just wanted to make the point that you should attain cessations refers to permanent cessation of suffering, as in cessation of suffering, not just in this life, but in all of our future lives, which necessarily involves moving above and beyond the karmic wheel altogether, getting off of the karmic wheel. And for us to apply ourselves, to apply this precious human life to bringing about a permanent cessation of our suffering forever, it involves contemplation of future lives. And I just wanted to offer some ideas in that regard for you to consider, along with other thoughts and considerations that you've had on this subject, I'm sure. All right, you guys, as I mentioned on Monday, I'm teaching a will class, a meditation class on will, starting and maintaining a consistent meditation practice. So we won't have class Monday next week or Friday next week. We will have Medicine Buddha meditation, and we'll resume our regular Monday, Friday classes a week from Monday, whatever that date is. Okay. Thank you very much, you guys. Have a great weekend.
Thanks, Jeff.
Thanks, Jeff.
Thank you, Jeff.
You're most
Goodbye.
welcome.
Bye,
You're
everybody.
welcome.
Bye.
Bye-bye.